All right, so this is take 2 for monomials and polynomials. I got all the way through this and had about 2 problems left, and then my iPad died and it didn't save anything. So, take 2 for me, first time for you guys hearing it. Anytime you have a monomial times a polynomial, we're going to distribute and we're going to follow the product rule. So you may recall that the product rule is where you add the exponents. So in other words, if a is just a variable and m and n are your exponents, you're going to add those together. Like we'll see in example 1. This is x to the first power, x to the first power. When we distribute and multiply those together, we're going to add those 1's to be a 2. And then when you distribute as well here, that is just going to give you a 4x. So that's a pretty simple one. We have one a little bit more complicated in example 2. You multiply the coefficients every single time. So 5 and 3 we're going to multiply, and that will give you 15. But the exponents you will add, so that will give you 5. So we do the same thing here. We don't have a coefficient in front of m, it's just 1. So 5 times 1 will just be 5. And then don't forget that m is m to the first, so we will add those exponents and get m to the fourth. Lastly, with 7, we just multiply the coefficients, and that will be 35. And m to the third we just bring down because there's nothing else there to multiply. So I'll just go through and do the odds, and I can let you practice with the evens. So we'll do the same thing for number 1. That will be k squared minus 9k. All we're doing is distributing, okay? For number 3, we'll distribute here. That will be negative 6. Add the p's. That'll be p to the 5th power. Distribute to the next one. Negative 6 times negative 8 will be a positive 48 p. For number 5, we will distribute again. This will be negative 8 g to the 3rd power minus 28 g to the 2nd power. For number 7, you're distributing, and that'll be negative 3 n to the 3rd. Add those exponents. Distribute again. That will be a positive 6 n to the 2nd and a negative 24 n. So when you get to 9, 11, and 13, students start to freak out. But I want you to understand that you just take it step by step. And though it looks bad, looks can be deceiving. This is actually a really easy problem. So when you distribute these, all you do is add the exponents. So that'll be p to the 7th power and q to the 5th power for the first one. Then for the second one, both of these have an exponent of 1. So we will just add 1 to those exponents that we distributed. And that's it. The hardest part of that was me telling you to add 2 plus 5 and 3 plus 2. And then 2 plus 1 and 3 plus 1. It's really not a difficult problem. Looks can be deceiving. The same thing for number 11. Now we're just going to throw in a coefficient. So 5 times negative 2 is negative 10. And then we add the exponents. 5 times 3 is 15, and then we will add those exponents as well. 5 times negative 4 will be negative 20. R squared s to the 4th. And number 13, a little bit bigger numbers. Negative 63. Add those exponents. And then positive 28. Add those exponents. There you go. All right, so for 15 and onward, we are distributing, but then we need to combine like terms. So we will have multi-steps here. That'll be negative 6x squared plus 8x. And then we copy down that plus 7x. So you can see that we need to simplify and put the plus 7x and plus 8x together to make plus 15x. For the next one, we'll distribute a couple of times. Y squared plus 4y. Here we're distributing a negative, so that'll be negative y squared plus 3y minus 9y. So look at the y squareds first. That's y squared minus y squared. That will cancel out. Then we have 4y plus 3y, which will be 7y, minus 9y, which will be negative 2y. And that is your final answer for 17. Works out nice and neat. For 19, we distribute, and you see how this y comes before the x? We're going to switch that around. When we write this down, we're going to make sure we keep it in alphabetical order. That's 12xy. So do the same thing here, minus 8x squared y squared. And then we'll copy down these other two terms that we have. Now, We're not going to do the 12xy first because we're looking for the one that has the greatest degree and in alphabetical order. So we're going to sort these by the x that has the greatest degree. But we do need to combine this first, x squared, y squared. So that will be 5x squared, y squared, then plus 12xy, and then minus 6. So remember, to combine like terms, they have to have the same variables and the same exponents. Be very careful with that. All right, so with these next few, I'll do 22 and 24 with you. So for 22, we distribute, and that will give me 8x to the fourth plus 4x to the third minus 20x squared. So there's the first one. Now we distribute this negative x, and that'll be negative x to the fourth minus 5x to the third plus 3x, and then plus 17. So we only have one variable here, so we look for the highest exponent, and that will be the x to the fourths. Those will combine to give me 7x to the fourth. So we're done there. Now we look at x to the thirds, and that will give us minus 1x to the third. And then from here, we only have 1x squared, 1x to the first, and 1 constant. So it seems like a lot of steps, and it is, but it's really not difficult math. I want you to understand the difference between a difficult math problem and a problem that takes a lot of steps. If I told you 7, 3, 5, 12, 10, blah, 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 and I just told you to add all those up together, it's not a very difficult math problem. It just might take a little while, right? It might take a lot longer than just 7 plus 3. So it's the same thing here that I'm talking about here. This isn't as simple as maybe the first ones that we did, but it's not that difficult. It's just a lot of steps. So for number 24, you see these brackets right here. They are the same thing as parentheses. They just mean that there's a parentheses inside them. So you see we need to distribute this before we distribute the 4b. So what I suggest you do is copy down the 4b, copy down the brackets, and do the distribution on the inside. So that's going to be 15ab, and then plus 10b squared. So we distributed that negative 5 in, and now we'll check to see that there's nothing else that we can combine, and there's not. We have an a squared, ab, and a 10b squared. We'll copy down the 29ab squared, don't want to forget about him. And now we'll distribute as well. So these brackets are pretty much the exact same as parentheses. So we'll distribute here and get 8a squared b. Now we'll distribute to the next term, and that will be minus 60ab squared. And then distribute to the last one, that will be 40 plus 40b cubed plus 29ab squared. So our final step here is to see if we can combine any terms, and the two that we can combine are the negative 60ab squared and the positive 29ab squared. So again, we will keep this in descending order by exponent, but we want it to be alphabetical order at first. So we look at the a's, and we have 8a squared b, since that has the highest a. Then we combine the negative 60 and the positive 29. That will give us negative 31ab squared. And lastly, we have the 40b cubed. So again, yes, that is a cubed right here for the b, but we are focusing on the letter that comes first in the alphabet. That's what we're going to do and categorize everything in standard form. So A is what we're going off of there. All right, for geometric applications, we are finding the area, which when you find the area of a trapezoid, that formula is 1/2 times the height times both bases added together. So what we'll do here is we have 1/2 times the height, which is 4x squared, times the bases added together. So there's our first base added to 2x to the third minus x. Those are our second base. So we have something we can combine like terms on the inside first. 1/2 times 4x squared, which we can go ahead and make that a 2x squared. 1/2 times 4 will give us 2x squared. And then we're going to put this in standard form, 2x to the third plus 8x plus 2x when we combine the 3 and the negative 1. So now all we have to do is distribute, and that will give us 4x to the 5th plus 16x to the 3rd. Yep, that's supposed to be a squared, so that's actually going to be x to the 4th right there. And plus 4x to the 3rd. There we go. All right, for 26, find the area of the shaded region as a simplified expression. So if we're trying to find this shaded area, we're going to take this big rectangle and find the whole area of it. But then we're going to subtract the area of this smaller rectangle. So if we really want to find it, we need to subtract what I'm putting in green. So what we'll do is find the area of the big one and subtract it from the area of the small one. So that will be 6x times 8x minus 1. There's the area of the big triangle. Minus 2x times 5x plus 3. There's the area of the smaller triangle. So that will give us 48x squared minus 6x. And then we're going to distribute this negative 2x all as one thing. So that will be minus 10x squared and then minus 6x. So now all you have to do is combine like terms, and that will be 38x squared minus 12x. Again, be very